It's the 24th. We are driving towards El Cuyo, site farther east on the coast, to try and find a motor. And we came across this hand salt works. We even have 3 guys out here who are collecting and working on the salt pans by hand with shovels. This is very similar to what we think would have been happening at Emal thousands of years ago. Again, here we have that double wall I was talking about earlier. They were using a type of palm called cheat because it withstands the salt water for a long time and can be there for a long time. They made this 3-hectare salt pan which produces 1,500 tons of salt in a year. It's an amazing amount of salt, especially moving it by hand. Each one of the mounds you see down at the bottom is about a ton of salt. Here we see them pulling a boat full of salt on a rope pulley system with the truck. The ancient Maya obviously wouldn't have had trucks to pull the salt, but they certainly could have had a gang of men working to pull a rope across the salt pan to pull in all of the salt boats. That's really cool. So, we're removing burial 29, not burial number 29, bone 29, but it ended up being a full burial. And here we have the right half of the mandible all the way through her chin. Her front teeth have fallen out, but we have them here collected. And we have the other half of the mandible over here. We broke it in the past, so we didn't just break it. You can see here how weathered the break is already. So it broke in the past, but still. Also, not very much wear on the teeth. So this, we think it's a woman, at least based on a few characteristics that we can see. And probably young adult, maybe middle-aged adult, hard to tell. But very, very, very cool.
Well, what movie is that from?
No idea.
Sunset Boulevard.
So we're enjoying the beginning of our lunch here on the boat, under the tarp, because it decided to squall on us today. There's a tropical storm moving through, so we threw up a bit of a, I don't know, very professional tarp. Let's see. It's raining, so I'm not going to put the camera outside, but...
You can shoot out the back, maybe.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, it is really nice out. Just better to be in here, thank you very much. So it's the 3rd of July, and Jair, Dan, and I have been doing soil collection rather successfully, and the ladies here have been removing more bones because that is the story of the summer. Now we're going to have lunch.
It's going to be a whole YouTube video of me eating.
Just waiting for you to do something funny.
Post that video, Scott, and then tag it with like Britney Spears bikini, like...
Nip slip. It's the 5th of July, and we are sitting out on a platform just outside the wall here. The site is just here behind us in the background. We're looking at a plaza, well, the outside of a plaza, where we've been mapping all day, and this afternoon we're going to set up a mapping station out here and map the wall and some of the stuff on the outside of the building here. But we've had a very frustrating, hot, and thorny morning.
Sorry, really? That was water.
But otherwise, things are moving along quite nicely.
Here we are on July 6th, 2013. As you can see, Scott Johnson, PI, Private Dick, is pulling us across the RIA. We do have a motor, and you can see it's been put up because it doesn't work, because it really does.
This is the untold story of the season. Any day we get over there without this happening is a happy day. It's only 2 kilometers, and we can walk and or pull the boat the whole way, which just take forever. So there's never really any danger. It's just annoying sites in the Ria, and all kinds of cool things that are nearby that we can work on in upcoming years. We have all these GPS points we found to go check out. And it's Saturday, so we have food, and we're just gonna make a day of it. And her motor decided it wanted the weekend off. It wants to go to the spa, aka the pool. I'm so tired of this.
I ran into the mechanic at the store the other day, and he asked me how the boat was running, and I said, eh. At which point he started laughing and said, yeah, that's about what I expected.
He gave it to us without oil. They gave us an engine, they lent us an engine that had no oil in it, which died then after 4 days. Surprise.
Anyway, this is the Ria, the estuary in which we have to travel to get to our archaeological site, which is way over there in the distance somewhere.
We have textbook anvil clouds building up here along the coast. This happens almost every day, where we see this front of clouds moving in from the south.
Man, can you hold it up and swing it around?
Here we have Jair mapping. We have these clouds moving in, these cumulus clouds moving in from the south, and they hit a line. You can just see where they stop, right along the coast. And just inside the coast, they build up into these beautiful anvil cloud formations. And we rarely ever get any rain here, but we hear thunder, we see lightning, and they threaten, and they just get huge. And it's really disconcerting to watch these large storms build up, but then never reach us. It's lucky for us though, because we get a lot of work done. We're off the south side of the site. Here you can see what may have been an ancient salt pan. We're working on figuring that out. Beautiful, beautiful afternoon.
Or I'm sorry, to the south, towards this water, this low-lying area. Concerned about her figure.
Well, you can tell it's the end of the season when we're getting tired of sandwiches and granola bars. Today we have a family-sized tin of sardines and crackers for lunch, and it's delicious. Although not as delicious as Jair's fish curry from last night. That was really good. It's a tough life out here. As you can see from this just horrible view, it's a tough life. Somebody's got to do it. And it's all of 90 degrees, so, I mean, we're just baking. Oh, it's the worst. Not like 110 degrees like we're used to.
And no ticks.
And no ticks. The bugs are really bad today. The mosquitoes are just horrendous. So we've decided to smoke, put a little smoke around our total station to keep Dan happy. And apparently the best thing for smoke out here is cow feces. So here we go. Dan is collecting a little bit more fuel. It actually doesn't smell bad at all, which is nice. Luckily, it doesn't smell it really at all. So.
But the smoke really helps.
Oh, man, they're nasty. Get off. Okay. All right. It's not glamorous, but we're almost done. Today we're mapping out here in the water with the alligators. Hooray.
San Fernando, okay.
San Fernando aquí. San Fernando de los Negros.
There's a report. Do you have that report?
There's CapEx report, and that's about it.
No, there's one that.
The historical one?
Yeah.
The Victoria Ojeda Road?
I think so.
Yeah, because he tracked it. They all came from Haiti.
There's 2 slim volumes.
Oh, I didn't see this.
I got it down on Kaiser Center.
I haven't seen that one.
I'll look. I'll let you know.
Today we have a visit from Tony Andrews and Company. Tony Andrews was an Nat Geo recipient in the, 1980s?
This was 70s.
70s. To work, to do a survey of sites along the Ria here including Emal. So this is the second time we've had Nat Geo funding working here, if not maybe the third, depending if Quebec's got it. But Tony's here visiting today and giving a little bit of a site tour for what we can, as closed as it is. So, beautiful day, other than the mosquitoes. My shoes are just plain old tennis shoes that I cut the toes out of. I got the idea in Key West where they have a monument to the salvagers, and they had shoes with the cut off toes like this. They're way better than water socks. It's our last day of work today, and one of my shoes decided to die. So it's lasted for 8 weeks, but now it's completely dead. Goodbye, shoes. Thanks for all the help. Now let's take a look at the site map that we produced this season. As you can see here, there are a number of structures spread across this relatively high area. It's almost like a little island or a tell, which is in the Middle East. Sites will be built up on top of the remains and on top of the waste of the previous generations, and they build up these hills practically that the cities are built on top of. That's kind of what we have here. If you look at the topographic lines, these lines running along the ground on this map, you can see that the site is kind of a mound city, and it's definitely the highest elevation around. And people have built their structures on top of these, on top of the remains, it appears, of previous generations. All of these rectangular mounds are idealized or malerized drawings of the structures it's kind of a reconstruction. They don't actually look like this today, but we know about how tall and how large they were based on the remains that are there today. If you look along the coast on the north or the top end of the map, you can see all these dark black lines. These represent alignments that go out into the water. Now this may have been a system of wharves and piers for landing canoes, or they may have been on dry land 1,000 years ago when the site was occupied. We're going to have to do a little more work on doing a reconstruction of the sea level next year. You can see a really cool aspect of the site along the southern end here. There's a wall that encloses the southern end of the site. Now you might say, well, the ends are open, it's not a very good wall. It looks like these ends were destroyed by storm surge. This area sometimes gets hit by hurricanes, and it looks like along the east and west ends of the wall there's a whole bunch of strewn rubble all over, and it looks like they were destroyed by some sort of hurricane, but we can't say that for sure until we do a little more do some excavation next year. Now we're looking at a site map which shows us the areas that we surface collected. You'll notice most of them are concentrated along the beach. That's because the beach is under constant erosion from the waves in the Ria, and that means they're practically being excavated for us, and so these were really rich in terms of artifacts available on the surface. This is not only where we collected hundreds, thousands of sherds of pottery, but we also collected dozens of bones. This map shows vegetation zones. One of the goals of this project was understanding how Emal fits into the local vegetation sphere, and it is one of the richest, well, the site itself is on very rich soil, very dark, very organic, very fertile soil. And you can see right in the center here is that dark blob. That's Emal, where some of the most mature, largest forests exist. In the rest of the area around it, the vegetation goes from anywhere from beaches, which are devoid of vegetation, or salt flats, which are also devoid of vegetation, to mangroves, low scrub brush, very salt-friendly plants, but really low vegetation, except for on the site where, of course, there's lots of thorns, as you've seen in the videos. We also got very lucky finding a lot of really fantastic artifacts just on the surface, like this projectile point, which is made out of chert, and we found off the backside of the site down by where the salt would have been produced. Just really fantastic, beautiful piece we found right on the surface. We also found things like a conch trumpet. The end on the left side here is cut off, and you can blow into it, and it makes this really fantastic trumpeting conch sound noise. We also found that on the surface. We found pieces of jade. This is a bead. You can see a little bit of the carved profile of it here. It's got a hole through the long axis, and it could have been strung on a necklace or any other sort of decorative collar. And then one of the most fantastic pieces I've ever actually seen personally found is this carved face out of jade. It was just sitting on the surface. I mean, this site has an incredible wealth just available on the surface because of the erosion on the beach. Right? This site may not be any richer than every other site. It's all right there, which makes it a very great candidate for future excavations. A really great foretaste of what's to come, I hope. And the biggest surprise of the season, of course, were all the bones we found. This is a photograph of one of the bones we found. Looks like a human long bone, but we found dozens of bones and a complete burial. I mean, these are just, it's unheard of to find this much bone on the surface. We were really lucky, but also it caused a lot of logistical hurdles and changes we had to do to properly take care of all of these bones. Well, it was a really successful season. I'm extremely happy. We had a fantastic crew. We had great weather for the most part. The major problems were boat problems, which, you know, in all the problems to have, that's one of the, I mean, it's not so bad. So we are very happy with how the season turned out, and right now we're turning our attention to finishing the pottery analysis, soil analysis, and writing up all of our results for a final report, which we'll put on our website, and we'll also be sending to INA, the National Archaeological Council. There will be more updates on the website, so stay tuned, and thanks for watching.